Hey, dear Grace Carriers, listen, it is your girl for an episode of The Grace Effect with the one and only Coach Pamela Hankins. So, tonight we're going to discuss is doing business with family and friends. Now, keep in mind, business is relational. I mean, you look for a supply or a demand. And so I'm taking a poll and I want you to weigh in this evening. Do relationships deserve grace, or should, when doing business with someone, or should you have contracts to set clear expectations? So let's jump right in. Often enough, it has happened where some of us have gone into business venture with family, friends, someone at your church, in some cases, on the job. And yet, they that relationship may have been strained, if you will, based upon not setting out the level of expectation, or really clearing, or being very clear is what I should say, on what you expect. Hello, welcome to the Grace Effect with Coach Pamela Hankins. And tonight we're talking about grace in business relationships, whether it is with family and friends, and should in business relationships that you go into with family and friends, should there be grace or should there be a contract? So, as I was saying, sometimes we have all got into a relationship, business relationship, if you will, with a family member, a coworker, someone at your church. And we went into that business relationship based upon the old adage, a man's word is his bond. And so legally, we know in some states and some places that if I give you my word to provide you a particular product and service at a particular date and at a particular time, anything past that would in fact make you liable and could make the contract that we went into null and void. Because keep in mind, whether we are dealing with Amazon, whether we're dealing with Ma Joe's corner store, it's a service, customer service, supply and demand, right? That's just, what business is. You have a need, I could supply that need, and your need is the demand. And in that, often enough, especially when it comes to doing business with family members, co-workers, people in the church, people on the prayer line, sometimes that level of customer service or expectation, that bond, if you will, that follow through is not always there. Now, listen, Listen to me good. Is my opinion that time when that follow through is not there is because good processes are not in place, and the lack of education in reference to good processes. Case in point, I had a job and my director had what she called, in which in core business it's called a sundown rule. Sundown rule meaning I am going to respond some kind of shape, form, or fashion to your particular email. I'm going to respond to your email with a level of expectation that you can expect when I will turn around what it is you actually need. I'm going to follow up with you. And when I tell you, she was very serious about this, like very serious. So I had a Word document that had these standard emails in them that I would go ahead and send. And so at that time, I was working in disputes for online transactions. And so if there was any event, you filed a dispute, I would copy and paste, put your name and say, hey, or just a generic response. I'm sending you this knowledge that I received your request and that I will respond to you in such and such time. And it outlined all of the At first, when she had us do that, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so crazy. It's so much time to do that. But let me tell you, it really set up a level of expectation. It helped my customers, whether internal or external, to know what to expect. And even if I was not able to, and she was very meticulous about that as well, if it meant that we were not going to be able to respond and or even resolve the dispute within the service level agreement that we had, whether it was internal or external partners, we had to follow up um, and let people know when our customers, when they could expect it. Had it not been for that experience, I would have never knew what type of processes to put in place, and how to set the stage or the level of expectation and engagement when doing business. See, I grew up in the inner city, if you want to call it. Some people call it the hood. But the agreements we had was, and some of you may even recall saying this, and may still say it today. My word is my bond, which means if I tell you that you're going to get a product on this particular day, I'm going to give you a service on this particular day, you best rest assured that is what I'm going to do. And even without knowing that or what it was all called before I got into corporate America, I was also brought up that you let people know. It's just called respect, right? And you have to give and set that example of giving um, on what you want to receive. I mean, even the Bible says it's better to give than to receive. And we often think in giving, it's financial, but it's also giving a level of respect, a level of grace. I mean, giving could go into so many different areas. But when it comes to business, we have to give quality service in which we want to receive. However, unforeseen occurrences befall us all. Certain situations happen. There could be a delay with the manufacturer that you're dealing with. And even it's embarrassing if you let your customers know or people that you're doing business with, they'll give you grace. Why? Because you are keeping them informed to make informed decisions on either A, if they want to continue to do business with you, or B, if they don't. But even if they choose not to do business with you, then guess what? At least you have gained their respect and you gain their grace. So now, even if there is a contract in place, things have been outlined in detail, and an unforeseen occurrence happens, I believe, listen, I, I said, I believe grace should be. So I want to hear from you. Do relationships, when you're doing business with family and friends, if something should go awry, do you believe that one, from the beginning, you should have a contract, or do you just give grace? Do you give grace because you believe um, that their word is bond and that they're going to fulfill what they said? Or should you put a contract in place for the protection of you and for the individuals? So now, if you believe that grace should be given when you're doing business, especially when it comes to family and friends, then drop A in the chat for grace. But if you believe that when you're doing business, no matter how small, how small it is, should there be a contract? Or C, it doesn't matter either way, right? So weigh in. And you know what? Welcome to this week's episode of The Grace Effect with Coach Pamela Hankins, as we are unraveling the relationship of business, and especially when it comes to doing business with family, friends, and people in ministry. My kids, they know me. And I don't think my kids are the only ones who know this about me, or that I'm the only person who feels this way about this particular example I'm going to provide. My kids know. Listen, when I tell you, they know. My grandchildren, they know that if you ask me for some money, And you tell me when you want that, when I'm going to get my money back. Because, baby, if it ain't a love offering, I want my money back. I want my coins back. But when you give me a date on when I can expect my money back, that is what I'm expecting. I don't want you to tell me the day of, unless it was like a real serious situation, like your company folded the day of you were supposed to get paid and you didn't get no paycheck. Maybe similar to how some people with Spirit Airlines didn't know that they had flights that were going to be canceled and they found out when they got to the airport. Now, if it's that type of situation, I certainly can understand. But if you know that you knew that when that payday came, you ain't have all them hours in there to cover your needs, your wants, and me, then I would expect the utmost respect that you would let me know, hey, I can't give you all your money. And then at that time, then let us barter. What do you have? What can you give me? Can you give me half? Can you give me 3/4 of it? Can you give me 1/4? If we need to make a payment plan, I'm cool with that. Why? Because some people have called me Layaway Lucy. They've called me Installment Ida. Listen, I could tell you about the Klarna, the Afterpay, the Affirm. Listen, I get it. But don't treat me like a credit card company and duck and dodge me like a bill collector. Because now that damages our relationship. That damages the level of trust that I'm going to have for you in extending my hard earned money. Now, mind you, the only way that I will go against what I think is if God himself say, give it to him. Now, if I hear him say that, then you have gotten grace at the umpteenth power. Because typically for me, baby, is one and done. I'm like Eminem. You only get one shot to mess up. And then after that, I'm looking like, is this a pattern? A pattern that I maybe didn't see? So then I'm going to go back and start analyzing, if you will, whether or not this was a pattern that I somehow overlooked. So what am I saying? I'm saying anytime you go into, depending on what type of business you're going to do, what type of relationship it is, who it is, that you should be mindful if it should be grace in that relationship or if it should be a contract. Now, listen, I may give grace and do a verbal contract with the family member if the loan that they're looking for, money that they want to borrow, is say like $200. I've even given grace when it's been more than 200, when it's been a couple of thousand. I have been that nice, and I am that nice. However, I can't give you grace when you owe me money and you spending money and you seeing paying everybody else. No, some kind of way. I don't know about who, but if you owe me money and I see you spending money and you like, look at this. Oh, look what I got. I'm gonna be looking like, well, where mine? And knowing me, I'm gonna say, try to be real cool and calm and be like, well, did you forget about me? I'm just saying. So, with that, what are a few things that we can do when we go into relationships as far as business is concerned with family and friends? Well, know them, know how they deal with everyone else. I mean, if it is someone in your family who you would call a pookie, and you know he's he's borrowing money from everybody, never paying anybody back, um, then 9 times out of 10, you might want to have a contract with Pookie to ensure you get your money back. Or you just may go into doing business with Pookie as taking it as a loss. You, I mean, that's just bottom line, right? But when we are conducting business, be things that we should put in place. Not contracting, not to insult anyone, but to ensure that everything is understood. For example, as I have been preparing for week 40, the speakers who I will be releasing that information soon, very soon. There are some things that I am working on behind the scene for some other things as well. So stay tuned. When I say stay tuned, stay tuned. Because I'm telling you, baby, when these other things get worked out, you better stay tuned. Because you want to be sure you're in the room. Because you might not. Because it is going to be amazing. And it will sell out. So, with that, my speakers all laid out to me. Some of them have been friends of mine. One of them in particular has been a very good sister friend of mine for 13 years. One of them is a family member. And another one is someone that I know, 2 other people that I know very well. But trust me, I am going to send all 4 of them, and plus this other individual, even the people that I do business with, contracts. And that is just to ensure what they can expect from me, because they have already let me know what they're expecting of me. And so with that, it's good to have a contract in place because it helps with the level of expectation. It sets the bar. It lets people know what they can expect. So if you are doing a brunch if you're doing a fashion show, whether your admission is free or not, whether the speakers are doing it because they choose to do it or not, um, it's best to have a contract in place. There may be some speakers that you may have at your event who don't necessarily want you to put them in a hotel, but they just may want the money up front to stay in a hotel. There may be some who don't want you to pay for their flight, room, board, lodging, any of that, transportation, because they don't want you to get mad at them and try to cancel their flight or kick them out their room. But whatever the case is, 3 tips when it comes to doing business: ask questions. Oh my goodness, let me tell you, there are so many things that I've learned in these last couple of years that if I would have asked more questions, asked for someone's portfolio, um, I I would have not made some mistakes. Recognize patterns. If you've dealt with someone and they told you, hey, listen, I'm going to get you this on such and such day, and then 2 weeks go by after the date, they ain't called you, they ain't told you nothing, and you continuously have to reach out to them, 9 times out of 10, that's a pattern. And so it would be my advice to you: stop doing business with them, because then it will help eliminate your level of frustration because they don't have the necessary processes in place. But also take it as a learning lesson to ensure that when you start doing business, or if you have a business, that you have the necessary processes in place to ensure that people don't feel like you felt, because then that would make you a hypocrite. So if you know that, prime example, I'll give myself. Turnaround time for the Chronicles of the Praying Wife journal and workbook took a little bit longer than I anticipated. There were some issues along the way with the process, but I informed those who made purchases. Hey, there was an issue. My apologies, but you can expect it. I'm, working on it diligently. No, I don't have an ETA right now. I can't tell you when I have to be able to get what I need, because one of my issues, which I didn't want to tell them, was someone that I was dealing with was in a totally different time zone. So then just that, right? And then 2, I couldn't pick up the phone and be like, yo, where is my stuff? What's the delay? So with that, I notified them. When I knew an ETA, I notified them. Then finally, when I got product in hand, I notified them when I was going to take it to the post office. Then I sent them a tracking number, and I even included something extra in their package. Now, they weren't expecting it, but I set the bar and the level of expectation on what they can expect from me with business. Now, because keep in mind, word of mouth is like one of the most prevalent forms of business. we always ask, well, you got a dentist? Do you know someone who could do this? That's word of mouth. Because sometimes if we phone through um, the phone book or whatever the case, well, we don't have phone books anymore, but just going through Google trying to find someone doesn't always, um, you're not sure. But if you know somebody who's worked with that person, then word of mouth will definitely, um, you know, give you that warm and fuzzy feeling about doing business with that person. And thank you for the like, and welcome to the Grace Effect with Coach Pamela Hankins, as we are discussing relationships from a business perspective this evening, dealing with family and friends. And should we give grace in certain relationships, business relationships, if you will, and or contracts, right? And so I have this poll survey, if you will, and drop a comment. A, if you believe that grace should be given, whether there's a contract or not, or B, should you just stick to the contract, or C, it doesn't matter either way. So with that, going back to that example, and I almost forgot where I was at, but going back to the example about the person who had ordered something from me, just one of these recent orders. When I reached out, even through text, and I even offered them something else as well. They were good. Now, when they go back after they read, shameless plug, The Chronicles of a Praying Wife, and then after they take and read it, as they're reading it, pull out the workbook, and then while they're working the workbook, they take and they go ahead and pull out the journal. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say, that P. Hankins, Coach Pamela Hankins, has great customer service. If you ever do business with her, she is going to follow up. She's going to let you know when she's late, when something's going to be late. She's also going to compensate you for your pain and suffering. She's not going to be defensive and not receive what you say with love because you're expressing yourself because of inconvenience her. And that is, something that we should also learn when it comes to business. Listen, no one is attacking you when they file a complaint or say that they're not happy with your service. They're really attacking your processes. You could be a very nice person, but you just don't have good processes in place to conduct business. And without good processes in place to conduct business, eventually, sooner, and I do mean sooner, you're going to get a bad reputation. And no one is going to want to do business with you. Let me repeat that again. You will get a bad reputation, and no one will want to do business with you. So, as I recap and come to a close, I just want to recap a couple of things when it comes to doing business with family and friends. Outline what people can expect. Not only outline what people can expect, but ask them what you covered Was there anything that you outlined that was not covered in what they expect from you? So then that way the two of you are on the same page and you're on one accord. Two, be mindful of patterns, even your own. If you know Mondays is a long day for you, that might not be a good day for you to say to someone, I can get you something back on Monday. Maybe you might want to shift it to Tuesday. If you say you'll get it to them on Monday, then maybe take the weekend to prepare so that you can ensure that you can get it to them however it may need to be delivered, whether you got to go to UPS, whether it means you have to go to United States Postal Service, and maybe, look at a different process or some processes in place, like having your own scale to weigh whatever, if you have to send something out and mail it, and labels, right? Because that could help streamline your process. Two, follow up with your customers if in the event anything should happen. If there's any delay in breach of your verbal and or your written contract. Because keep in mind, some people, come close, some people believe what the Bible says, that the law is for the lawless. So when you break or breach a contract, whether verbal or written, you stand the risk of someone having the legal right to take and sue you. Now, me, on some things, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not. And with some people, I'm going to leave it in the hands of God. And I think one of my very good spiritual sisters who shared a situation during the discussion with her and her husband and another spiritual big sister, how she had been taken advantage of in a particular situation where she was taken advantage of. And even though her husband was like, she should have sued, she said, I'm going to let God handle it. And let me tell you, when she said that, and the look that I saw in her eyes, and especially for the kind of money it was, I couldn't do nothing but respect it. I could not even do anything but support it, because she was so confident that God was going to handle them. Come close. With grace that she may have not given them, and that God was going to give her double for her trouble. So I tapped into my sister's faith that day. And I'm like, you know what? Can't nobody do it like he can. God will give you what you are deserving, and even give you grace that I might not give you. Now, I may preference, I could, but I'm not. And I do that to acknowledge the grace, because I want you to know grace is given, because I want you to grow, and we should all grow through grace. When someone says, I could, but I'm not, We should receive that as grace was given, and that there was a lesson in that grace that was given, and not to get defensive. Well, like, it ain't that serious. No, boo, it is. It is. It's that serious because your process and what you do was not good. And even if I am the only person who may have said it, all it takes is one complaint, one bad review. It takes one match. That's it to set a fire. So I think I have beaten that horse today. And I think we need to give the conversation some grace. So I hope that you realize the effect of grace in every relationship aspect, whether it is at work, in a relationship with your children, your husband, family, friends. Always know that when grace is given, there is an effect. And that effect will shift a change. And it should shift a change in how we are relating to one another. And so, with that, I just want to give one more shameless plug again. The Chronicles of a Praying Wife. This book, do not be fooled by the title. It helps you to learn. First, teacher how to give grace. One of the first things that you need to do when you want to give grace, admit to the person who created grace, and that is our most gracious Heavenly Father. He is a creator of grace. Not only should you submit to grace, but you should listen. Listen to the grace that's given, and then believe it and know that it was grace, and submit to grace. And then when grace is given, humble yourself, baby, so that you can release the outcome and reconcile some of those things with yourself and with others, so that you can prepare to soar. This book is for any woman, whether you're married, divorced, single, single mom with kids. Doesn't matter. This book talks about surrendering to the creator of grace. And might I add, it is an Amazon bestseller. Now, you could go on Amazon and get it, but give your girl some grace, and you can get this wonderful bundle from me. And it will be autographed. You can get this companion journal to go with it, as well as this workbook. Now, your shipping, I'm going to give you grace. And I'm going to give you grace that Amazon is going to give you. Because together, these three are $55. So if you order them from Amazon, you would pay $55 plus tax and shipping. But when you get them from me, you're going to pay $50 for this trio. And I promise you, it is going to be life changing. And what is woven in this is what God has woven into the week 40 retreat. This is just a sprinkle. The week 40 retreat that will be taking place um, at the Massanutten Resort in Harrisonburg, Virginia, the weekend of October 2nd and 3rd. That is when you're going to get the meat. This is the bones, even though it's some good bones. You could get bone broth. That's good for you with a lot of collagen out of bones. But that week 40 retreat, that's the meat. That is the meat. So with that, I would encourage you to go to my website, which is www.phankins.com. And say, you should see something coming across your screen. Well, you can go to the website, www.phankins.com. And there you will see also, the free love and relationship ebook. And that is valued at $20. But you're going to get that for free. So, and you can't get that if you order from Amazon. But you can definitely get that from me. So here, I'm going to run it across the screen again, just in case, so that if you didn't get it, so you can go to www.phankins.com and scroll down to the very bottom of the page. And before you get to the products, you'll see where you could just go ahead and get the freebie. And all you would have to do is just fill in the information, and then you will get the free download of the Love and Relationship ebook. And then if you scroll a little bit further down from there, you will then see where you can purchase the trio, or you can get them separately. If you just want the book, that's fine. If you already have the book and you want the workbook and the journal, then fine. You can get the workbook and the journal. So this concludes this episode of The Grace Effect with Coach Pamela Hankins. Listen, next week, I'm going to have to tape my show, but I'm going to have a guest. Yes. And you do not want to miss this guest. You don't want to miss this guest at all. And let me tell you why. This mighty woman of God has transformed into she was already a beautiful butterfly, a beautiful soul, but man, she's shining. And let me tell you, I am excited to have her on. Why? Because she is going to talk to us about her new relationship. Y'all, she got married. Her married now. Love is in the air. And then her son got married. Love is in the air. Listen, This minister of the gospel, I love her. Her spirit from day one when we met, she is just awesome. And those that know her, that know me, they love her for her realness. And so she will be my special guest. And if you are interested in being special guest on The Grace Effect with Coach Pamela Hankins, go to my website and you will see under bookings, you'll see, it should say The Grace Effect. And sign up, because guess what? There may not be any more freebies after a while. The free grace may be gone. So you want to ensure that you can get in while grace is given. And so with that, thank you for always taking the time to show up, pop in, and meet me here so that we can all unleash the divine that is in us. With that, I want to say until next Saturday.